Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank furlough, it's Friday, the 2nd of October. Slightly different today. I'm coming to you actually from a couple of days holiday. I'm sitting in a car park at the Fleet Services off the M3. So if I'm looking even more strange than normal, that's why. And I am reliably informed that today it is actually our 80th ICB TV. So all things considered, I don't think I look too bad for 80. Obviously, the ever effervescent spring chicken as she is, Jacquie, is here again with me today, and she's got quite a lot to impart to us, I believe. Jacquie?
I've got a few things to say, yeah.
Good. Well, I'm going to listen for a little while, but then I'm probably going to let you get on with it because okay. I know you like to have the last word anyway when we close down, so that'll be fine. So what's happening at the moment?
Okay. Nothing new on the job support scheme. We went through all that last week, and I'm not sure that everybody managed to see the recording of it. But I think there might have been a problem with one of the recordings, but not problem. We will get the presentation up for you. But there's been nothing new on it this week, and we still have some questions outstanding from last week, which actually I haven't been able to get any answers to at all this week. So the questions that are still outstanding from last week was, one was the pay-as-you-grow repayment of the loans, being able to take a payment holiday or an interest-free or just paying the interest for 6 months. And it was saying, how do we know if you're struggling and you can take advantage of that? Well, the answer is, I'm not sure yet, because it does say you have to apply to have the deferment. So it might be worthwhile going back to the bank or the people you took the loan out from and speaking about that. The other one was, how do we calculate 0 hours employment? Now, I'm not sure whether or not we're going to be, that's going to work, because if they're on 0 hours and they're working, sorry, my phone will go off in a minute if you can hear me. I'm not sure where with 0 hours, whether it counts, that would actually fall within the job support scheme, because the job support scheme is that they're working a minimum of a third of their hours. And if they're on 0 hours, presumably they're only working the hours they're paid for, and it may or may not be able to claim for those. But again, I'm still trying to get a final answer for that. One question came in on local lockdowns. What happens on local lockdowns? Again, we've had no more information on that as to whether there is anything specific, except that we do know that you can apply for grants from the local authority if you're in a lockdown. But if you're locked down and you can't work, then it may very well be that you can't access the job support scheme because you're not actually working for a minimum of a third of the hours. And the other one that cropped up was what happens to sole directors? And again, we're not sure, because how do you determine what a third of a director's working week is? Now, I have got a little bit more on directors NICs that I'll come back to later on. But unless anybody's got anything else that they want to ask, put some questions up, please. And I will try and answer those. I'm just looking at various things so I can get the questions coming up. A few updates have come up from HMRC on other areas, though. The Kickstart scheme. Now, if you remember, that was where if you have a minimum of 30 employees that you're taking on, then the government will guarantee to pay minimum wage for, I think it's 25 or 30 hours, I can't remember the number of hours. But you have to have a minimum of 30 employees. And we were talking about what happens if you want to take on a few and you get together with a group of other organisations to try and join into another Kickstart scheme. Now, there is now a list gone up on HMRC of organisations and businesses who are taking employers onto their list to make up a group of 30. If I can get something up on the chat line, I'll just try and put up the link for you. It is kickstart.interest.dwp.gov.uk. Now, hopefully that may have, oh no, sorry, spelling mistake in there. It's kickstart.interest.dwp dwp.gov.uk. So that's the link if you want to look at that. And if you go into that website, there are lists there, and there's a lot of information there on that. Bit of information coming out, PAYE settlement schemes. Now, if you have arranged for a client to do a pay PAYE under a settlement scheme, what's been happening is that HMRC should have been issuing pay slips for you to pay this with the relevant references. And I understand that a lot of those pay slips have not gone out. So what HMRC is saying is you should pay what's owed anyway, but you have a different reference for this. You will have a PAYE settlement reference rather than your normal PAYE reference. So that's that one. There is an issue with HMRC's VAT registration system online. When you register a business for VAT, you have to state whether or not when you're going to start trading. And what's happening apparently at the moment is that if you have, if you say you're not going to be trading for 6 months, but you still want to register for VAT, apparently the system is automatically rejecting your application. Now, apparently this is not right. They should be taking it, because there will be times and businesses where they quite legitimately can claim their costs up front, but they won't actually be having any income from sales till 6 months, a year down the line. But if you're in that situation, or you have a client in that situation, then appeal to HMRC against the rejection, and that should go through. And the other one, the other little one.
Got a question here, Jackie, from got a question from Jeff Cavender.
Yeah.
Jeff Cavender, could you please say what is the maximum percentage of hours you can work under JSS? You have to work a third, but can you work 80%, as HMRC implies you can? Yes,
you can. You can work as much as you like, up to, I think it's almost 90%. And then it's just the non-percentage of worked hours that you can claim a third back on from the government. So yes, it's a minimum of a third, but the maximum is up to, say, 90%, 80 or 90%. So that's fine. That's not a problem. Okay. A meeting last week with HMRC on the new Making Tax Digital for self-assessment. Had a couple of meetings recently, and we will be obviously getting a lot more information out on that. And I hope, mentioning the word summit, we're hoping to get somebody in on to talk about this from HMRC. Hopefully we will get someone who can give you the up-to-date knowledge. But basically what's happening with the new Making Tax Digital, as you are aware, businesses who are voluntarily VAT registered, whose threshold turnover is under the £85,000 threshold, have to register for VAT for MTD from April 2022, and self-assessment is coming on board under MTD from April 2023. Now, what the situation is, as I understand it at the moment, is that we will do the 4 quarterly uploads. This is exactly the same as it was when we first started to talk about this about 4 years ago. There will be 4 quarterly uploads, which is purely a list of income and expenditure, no individual figures. You'll just upload your information, and it's for non-incorporated businesses and landlords at the moment. So anybody who has a property that they rent out must be included, which, if you've only got a single property, might cause you an issue. If the turnover is over £10,000 a year, then that you have to take part in it, which means you're going to have to upload digital information and start to keep your information digitally. You can still deal with your quarterly uploads on either cash or accruals basis, but you will have to notify HMRC at the start of the year as to what you're actually uploading. And it means also that at the end of the year, there is going to have to be a final upload or some sort of reconciliation to allow for adjustments. So non-tax deductible things, capital allowances, all that sort of thing. You can do it each quarter, or you can do it at the end of the year. So again, nothing much there has changed. There is an interesting possibility being discussed at the moment, that for those of you whose VAT quarters do not coincide with your accounting year, so you've got an overlap, they are looking at ways where you can actually combine the two. So your VAT upload VAT return being uploaded can coincide with your ITSA upload quarterly, which means that you actually might be offset from the quarters, but that's very early days. Hopefully it just means you'll do less submissions than you might have to otherwise. New businesses look as though there's going to be a delay before they have to start reporting for ITSA. We don't know what the lead-in period is, but if you have a new business set up, it looks as though you're not going to have to start reporting at the end of your first quarter, which is good. And also, if there are minor errors, differences going on each quarter, they're not envisaging any penalties if your figures are corrected later on in the year because information hasn't come through or there's a mistake in the accounts or something. However, you must make sure that it is as accurate as you can, because if at the end of the year it's been so obvious that your quarterly uploads are way out of what the annual figures are, HMRC will start to look into that. So that's really all the information that I've found this week. There's a question coming on the chat line from Paul Ingram. Reference new job scheme starting. If an employee is able to work more than a third of the hours, would they be eligible still for the scheme? Yes, it's everything from a minimum of a third up to whatever the maximum is, 90%, 80%. And you can claim a third of the non-working hours. Faye's online. Afternoon, Faye. Does the VAT payment deferred to June 2020, now March 22, on a time to pay arrangement guaranteed, or do we have to ask for it? I think you have to apply for it on a time to pay application, so you will have to go for it. I don't think you can assume that you can just pay late. I think you should be doing it on a pay arrangement. So that's really all the information I've got this week. Sorry, I've had nothing from my HMRC contacts this week at all, so there's obviously nothing new coming out. We do have one question actually that has come in from a member that I could do with some help with. It's one that's sort of caught me out, and it's because it's more of a software option. I have the okay from the member to discuss this. This particular member has a client who, under the coronavirus scheme, has employed staff and has been claiming the CJRS quite legitimately. But unfortunately, they are, throughout the year, they've used up £3,000 of their employer's allowance. But unfortunately, the business owner has had to make all of his staff redundant. So he is now still running the business, but working as a lone sole director. So therefore, he's not entitled to the employee's allowance. Now, we've spoken to HMRC and we've had a look at the guidance on HMRC. And what we've actually come up with is that he mustn't tick the box on the software that says now ineligible to claim, because that means that that will be go back to April and he'll have to repay all the allowance he's had. But we're not quite sure what happens from now on to the end of this year. From April, we know that the business is going to have to tick that they're not available for the employee's allowance. He's no longer eligible to claim it, but the software cannot be changed. So if anybody's been in this situation where their employer's allowance has changed halfway through the year, I'll be very interested for any feedback from anyone. We're just trying to get some final help, because having spoken to HMRC, it's still a bit up in the air as about what's going to happen to whether he's going to owe or not back. Oh, and Kirsty St. John's come straight back. I spoke to HMRC about this today. They can keep the claim okay for this year. And yes, you're right, from April onwards. HMRC said to leave it tick for this year, and that's Moneysoft. And we know it's the same with Intuit payroll as well. So my question is, and this is again the one we're not sure about, is the director entitled to claim the final £1,000 of the employer's allowance for this year? So that's just, so Kirsty, if you've got an answer to that one. Okay, and questions. Done that one, I've done that one.
Got one from Raza Dalton. JSC, will directors be included in this? Can they work less hours for the business and claim the support?
Yeah, and we've got a second question exactly the same. I haven't heard anything about it yet. I think the trouble with the sole directors is, what is the guarantee on how many hours they're going to work, and what constitutes the third or minimum of their working week, and how much they're going to claim? I have sent out some feelers on this to my contacts, but nothing's come back as yet. It's the same with the flexible furlough. How much could you claim under the flexible furlough scheme for a director? So if anybody's got any thoughts on that, please do pop some notes up. I'd be very interested. And Kirsty's
whilst you're having a think about that, Jack.
Yeah.
Right.
Kirsty's come back and said, so the HMRC lady this morning said that the claim is okay for this year, i.e. could have the whole £4,000 if needed. So it looks as though it's going to be all right for this year, and then nothing from April. So thanks, Kirsty. I will pass that back to the member if the member's not listening. I'm not sure if that particular member's on this afternoon. So.
Okay. Just mention the summit. The dates have changed a little bit. A couple of people have picked up on this. It was due to start on Monday and with a second day on Tuesday. Because we're going to do this virtually, we're actually doing it on the Tuesday, Wednesday. And I mentioned on the last, well, actually mentioned it last Friday. That's so that we make sure the technology is definitely working, and it's a little difficult to do that on a Sunday when the power is different. So we'll set everything up on the Monday, make sure it works. But all that's coming about. We've got some really good speakers already lined up. We've got some interesting speakers. Alison Ball, those of you who remember Alison when she was over here working with Intuit. Alison's coming back on to say hello, and she's going to give us a presentation. She's still in the business. She's now left Intuit because Intuit laid a lot of people off a while back. But she thankfully found herself a job with another software company. But she's coming on to talk about bookkeeping in general, because she's got years and years of history working with bookkeepers. So she'll be coming along. We've got some people coming on from Canada, America, Australia, obviously, New Zealand, different parts, different times throughout the summit, just to talk to us about what's going on. Of course, if that's something you don't particularly want to watch, with the virtual summit, it just means that you can pick and choose, really. It's a bit of a, we give you a menu, and you decide which bits of it you want to listen to, which you don't. But a lot of our presentations will be the thought leader things about where to go next, how to improve your practice if you want to, how to move forward. Obviously, always how to find clients. There's sure to be something on there also about how to lose a client if you don't want them, because that seems to be something that crops up more and more nowadays. And in addition to that, then there'll be presentations from our sponsors and from other software companies and other people in the profession who've got something either to sell or at least to promote or show you how to use or get more out of than you're currently getting. And I'm told that accounting software is a bit like a mobile phone. You use it for the basics, and then all the extra bits, most of you don't know anything about at all. So hopefully they'll come up with a few surprises that it's already there waiting for you. All you've got to do is hit the right button or press the right phrase somewhere on the screen. We seem to have fewer people asking questions today, I think.
I've got a couple there. I've got an AML one up there that I can't answer, Gary, so because that's not my area, AML. Do you want to have a look at that one if you can see it from Gillian, and then I'll take the others. Faye's come in and said,
well, I've got one from Sylvia Cossins Borehill. Just spotted Gary in his car, hope he's not driving. No, Sylvia, now you know me, I wouldn't do that. But yeah, I mean, I did mention it before, those of you who didn't come on early. I'm actually, I've taken a few days holiday. Julie and I have come away on holiday, and we got caught out in the rain this morning, didn't manage to get back in time to do this from our office. So we are actually sitting in the car park of the Fleet Services just off the M3. And if you see very strange people going behind me, or people walking their dogs, or a few people knocking on the window, they think that something weird is going on, but it's not really. So anyway, thank you for that. Now, which is the one? Gillian, is that on the
it's on the question and answer, YouTube. Gary. Faye's asked, if RTI for monthly pay shows after the 23rd and 9th, does that mean they can't be on job support scheme? They have monthly RTIs from April the 20th. Yes, the 23rd is only for new employees. So if you've had employees on that have had an RTI submission prior to the 23rd, so if they've been employed, that's not a problem. You can put them on even if they haven't been furloughed, or if they've been furloughed completely. But it's going to hit two groups of people. It's those who are employed on or after, say, the 1st of September, where you won't be doing an RTI submission till the end of the month. They're not going to be allowed to do this. And also, if you have a director on an annual pay where they're only paid at the end of the year, so in March, this is going to be exactly the same problem as we had with RTI for annually paid directors going back to April. If they haven't had an RTI submission this financial year, then it's unlikely that they will be able to benefit anyway. So watch this space, and we'll try and come back with some more information for you on that.
Just having a look at this query from Gillian, not relevant to this part of the discussion. Gillian, any question is always relevant. That's what we're here for. Just this morning, gained a UK charity as a client. Congratulations. To do some project work, and they're looking for me to start next week if possible. There are loads of trustees, so it isn't practical to do all of their IDs, but it is registered with the Charities Commission, as well as checking Charity Commission registers, etc., to ensure it is properly registered. Would it just be the general manager, the sole person I am dealing with, who I need to get ID for? Gillian, certainly you need to get the general manager's ID, and you make sure it's all proper. You've got everything you possibly can about him or her. In an ideal world, yes, you should get the other trustees, but obviously some charities have thousands. So what we say in that circumstance is you have to be assured that you think it seems to be running properly, that the person you're dealing with has got authority. So are they at board level, or are they just an individual who's been made a general manager and has got no power? But I would think from what you've told us at the moment, then it would be sufficient to begin with, at least by getting the general manager's ID and getting that sorted. Now, once you start working a little more closely with the charity, then I think you might decide that there is more to it than you're able to see from just the general manager and from the Charities Commission. The Charities Commission, as far as I'm aware, do some quite stringent checks, but I'm not sure whether they go as far as checking for money laundering purposes. But they do look into the backgrounds of people, but that doesn't stop you having to do it. So certainly get the general managers first to be able to begin the project.
Could I just say check the Constitution?
And yes, I'm just being reminded by June, who's sitting here even more closely than normal, and the other side of the car, and just saying, check the Constitution. What does the Constitution say? Who is actually in control of the charity? And that's important, because if the general manager is, as in some cases, how can I describe it, a dog's body, then that really isn't much good to you, because he or she or they will not know exactly what is going on. So it's all about control. So congratulations on being offered a new client. I hope it goes well. Don't cut the corners at this stage in case there is something else to it. There are charities that are not working properly, we know that, but the majority seem to be run very, very well and very much in favor of the person that they are raising money for or working with. So so well done, but as always, just be careful out there.
And Gillian's
wonderful, thank you. Oh, that's all right. Thank you, Gillian. That's great.
Maggie says, do we have any advice for employees working on a salary and commission? Commission is office-based rather than individual sales, but employees will be working 50% of the time from November. What would be the basis for the 50% basic salary and then pay commission on top? That one I'm going to have to look into as to what constitutes normal pay. I have a feeling that if it's based on normal pay and the commission is part of your contract, then I think the commission is probably going to be included in it. So you would have to perhaps work out what the commission is going to be on the non-worked part, or take the commission and split it. I don't know. We will have to come back with some more detail on commission. I haven't seen anything else, but it does say normal pay. So I think the figures that you're calculating it on are very similar to the ones that we use for the CJRS scheme, but I will have to come back with that. So I will make a note of that one. And we've got a query here. Are all types of businesses allowed to claim for JSS, even if they are now fully up and running? Yes, they are, even if they haven't claimed anything under the furlough. But if they are up and fully up and running, then presumably all their staff will be fully occupied. It's just a question of, you'll have to look at what your business's normal working patterns are and see if there are any changes. Difficult to know without looking at specifics on that one. So I will have a look at, so I need to have a look at commission. I'll make a note on that one.
There's one here from Beata Pakan. I have a question regarding umbrella payroll. Are we allowed to accrue 12.07% holiday pay from the worker's gross pay? What happens when the worker ceases the employment and does not use the holiday pot money?
The 12.07%, if it's based from April, I think that's the one that's changed. It was 12.0% up until the beginning of this tax year, but it's now worked on the average of their last 52 weeks pay. So I'm not quite sure what you mean with that. So Beata, I may come back to you on that one.
Yeah, it might be useful to give us another call and we'll see if we can get some.
I think I might need to do a bit more information beyond that and do some calculations rather than do that, because that's quite a specific one. There you are. And Sue Brulin said, amazing dedication as always, Garry.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. So actually what it is, I didn't want everybody saying, actually, Jacquie does just as well without Garry. He needn't be there on Friday. So I'm just being careful, really. I'm watching my,
never.
But
Never.
No, I like being on TV. It's my
Yeah.
remaining chance to talk to members, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Beata's come back. Oh, this is the query on the commission. The commission is on the contract and is included in the calculation. So I think if it's on the contract and it's part of the normal pay, you'd have to work out what your average commission is. I would go back to maybe what you looked at for the CJRS scheme, and perhaps if you've justified that for CJRS, then that may be your justification for JSS as well. Okay, have we got any others? I'm just taking off the ones that we've answered so we can see what's left.
He's just said something about having a client with 7 employees still on furlough. 7 out of 30 from November. Can the full-time employees do less work to get the furlough workers back in to share the load?
Yes, yeah, I think you can, because whether or not they've been on furlough, once they're back, if you've got them working a minimum of the third, this is the idea that rather than make some of them redundant, keep some of them on full time, you can bring them all in, say on a part-time basis, and claim this, the JSS. However, don't forget that the employer has to pay a third of the hourly rate plus the employer's NI plus the employer's pension without them actually working. So it could be a significant outlay when you haven't got people working, and you've got to do that for everybody. So you're going to have to work out what is best for the business. It is a job support scheme to keep people into jobs. So if you're going to bring your furloughed workers back and make your part-time workers go your full-time workers go part-time, you're going to have to look at contracts. It's got to be agreed in writing. Don't forget, the contracts must be available to HMRC if they want to see the contract. And it is going to be a fairly significant cost to the employer, because not only will they have to pay a third of the non-working time, they're going to have to pay a further third up front for the wages and then claim it back after the next RTI, because you can't claim this in advance. You have to pay them, you have to submit the RTI, and then you claim back once a month after that. So November The portal's probably not going to open, I think, till sometime in December. So it's going to be a significant outlay up front for this, and the employer may or may not be able to afford it because of cash flow reasons. So you need to look into that. That's me done, says Faye. Thank you both. I'm glad we finished you off, Faye.
Yeah. I think Faye's been on more of these ITV programs than I have. So yeah, it's good. Always good to get you there.
Right. So that was Faye's question that I just answered. So I'll take that one off.
Judith Sid, I have a new client. Smiley face. Well done. The old bookkeeper walked out as the digital got too much. Oh, I see. I've tried to find out if VAT was calculated on cash or standard VAT. The retired accountant says it's on a liability calculation.
Ooh.
The VAT helpline says it could be either cash or standard. The working I can see on the old returns. Seems it's been a mixture of both, i.e. only paid purchase invoices used in VAT, but all sales, even if not paid. Which method should I use? Cash or standard? Been registered for that for 30 years. Oh my Lord, yeah.
I know. Doing it that way, Judith, I'm sure you've done the maths on this one. If they're only claiming the VAT back on what they've paid, but they're paying the VAT on all their sales, it's almost the wrong way around. But actually, you have to be either or. You can't be one or the other. I have to say, I think this is going to be a massive VAT reconciliation job for you. And then you'll have to decide what you want to do. And it's going to depend on the type of business, I think. And I can probably understand why your business bookkeeper's walked out now. Don't know if you won that one, Judith, but my answer to that will be have a look at reconciling and give me a call or an email. You know how to get in touch with me. And if I can talk it through with you, if you want to scream at me, please feel free. That's going to be an interesting one to answer. I've had a couple of quite interesting technical problems come through this week, which I've been trying to sort out for a couple of members this week, which I found an excellent revision exercise as well. So I don't want too many, but that might be one you might need a bit of someone to say, yes, it's right, or yes, it's not, Judith. So do come back to us through the technical line.
It might also be worth bringing the attention of HMRC at some stage as well, so that just in case it's going to take a while to sort this out, just in case they turn up one morning unawares and you're in the middle of sorting it out. And just quickly to say, Beata, we will give you a call about your particular query. We'll be in touch shortly about that.
Yeah, I've got your name down, Beata. So
Judith Sill, can I run now? I'm not sure what question that is.
Yes, I think the answer to that, Judith, is a great big resounding yes. Run away. But I know you won't do that because you'll take it on as a challenge now. I'm sure that is not a good one, actually. The interesting thing I do want to bring up, completely apart from this, is the issue that I was helping a member out with this week was someone who sells music, a business who sells music online through various platforms. And the statement that was sent in from the online platform, fortunately, there is no VAT registration on this for whatever reasons. But the statement, the Excel spreadsheet that our member actually got from the client was horrendous. And we were working out actually how on earth, picking out from something like 15 or 20 columns of figures, which were the relevant ones to put through the system to try to match up with what was coming into the bank as a net payment. And it was really a question of sort of looking at the figures and working out and finding out that actually 70% of the figures that appeared on this spreadsheet were actually nothing to do with the client whatsoever and could be completely ignored. It was the online platform's own costs and everything was on there. So yeah, some interesting spreadsheet calculations this week.
As you've mentioned, paying for music, I hope everybody's read the newsletter that came out recently. There's quite a lot in there. Now, my blog this month was rather long, but if you manage to get towards the end, there's quite a fun story there about Adder bookkeeping. So I don't know if Adder are listening at the moment, about nearly getting themselves into trouble because they wanted to spice up one of their new videos with some music. Anyway, if you have a look at that, it's quite fun, but there's a there's a salutary tale there for all of you, not to go using somebody else's property. But
yeah,
anyway.
I mean, interestingly enough, one of the things that wasn't on this spreadsheet that I thought might have been were royalties to the artist, and apparently there aren't any on there. So either that or the agents paid the royalties and it didn't go through the sales company. But there has been quite a lot in the paper this week about artists are losing royalty money on downline streaming. So that's something she's going to go back and check on.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's at the moment. We've got any on?
Well, I think, Jackie, if it's all right with you, it's just about starting to throw it down with rain. As I'm sitting in a tin box here at the moment, it's going to get noisier. So, bye, everybody. Look, I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of Jackie. She's always got your best interests at heart, and she'll be there to support you. It was good to see. I'm back next week, so you know they don't give me very many days off here. But so see you all soon. Thank you for coming on, and hang on with Jackie. If you've got any more queries, she'll be with you. So see you soon. Bye.
Take care. Bye, Gary. Right. It's just you and me, folks. And lovely Alex sitting in the background, hopefully that's still there listening in case I get into trouble. Right, okay, Judith, yes, I will do. The answer to that is we can at least get you started on that one. Okay, let's have a look at any of the other questions that have come in. Commissions on the contract. I think that's all of the questions at the moment, unless anybody's got anything else to say. Interesting enough, Gary mentioned the summit. We had in our online staff meeting we have once a week, we saw the demonstration of the platform that they're going to use for the summit, and I have to say it is amazing. It's literally just like looking at being in the hotel, because you can book little rooms for little meetings with each other, and there's rooms that shows you the availability, and if you want a meeting with someone on the other side of the country, you can book a meeting room and go and have a little online chat with them, completely private, nobody else gets involved, as well as all of the normal stuff that you would expect to be with the presentations. I know I'm in the process of sorting out what they want me to do for that, and I've got a few that I'm doing, and we're having speakers coming in and doing. It's quite a lot of technical stuff, possibly things for students and anyone that's on, so should be good. It's going to be a busy 2 days. What I like the idea of was the drinks party before the Luca Awards, which I think I will definitely get dressed up and join. But anyway, right, back to the questions. Karen McKee, hi Karen. Hi Jackie. Really sorry if you've covered this. I got pulled away with a CIS problem. Yeah, well, I've had those in my time. Any update as to if directors can claim the job support scheme? No update as yet. My concern is, how do you prove what hours they've been working? For me, this is open to a huge amount of fraud, that they're actually working full-time because they're sole directors in the business, and yet they're going to say they're only working a third of the hours, and they're claiming the rest when actually they're not. So I think there is going to be a lot of information coming out of this, and I will reserve further comments on that until we've got some definite information, because I'm really not sure how that's going to work. Okay, we've still got a lovely load of people on. If anybody else has got any comments, I'll hang fire for a few minutes. It's 20 to 3. Don't forget, if you can't get anything up today, do email into memberservices@bookkeepers.org.uk. I'm tending to get all the technical queries at the moment. Anything to do with legal, HR, insurance, anything like that goes to Quest, and at the moment most of the rest are coming to me. So yeah, if you've got any others, just send them in. Dee's in. Oh, hi Dee again. D Youngman, hi, do you know how HMRC are dealing with post? An accountant has told me that there are no VAT staff in the offices and all are working from home. I should therefore only contact them by email. Well, the postal system is still working. I don't quite know how they're doing it, because although the staff are at home, I'm assuming someone's going in and checking the mail. I hate to think of how many letters there are. And I know that since Since the start of lockdown, letters have been answered. I'm talking to a member that I know very well who's just signed up for, I think I might have mentioned this before, to become an agent for self-assessment for the first time. And actually that had to be done in writing. So the letter went through. It did take a while. It took about 6 weeks to get it sorted, but they are dealing with post because we did get the activation codes coming back for that, which came from a postal letter. So yeah, hopefully they are still working. Oh, this is an interesting one from Nicola. Do you know if you have met a new client via Zoom only? Can we tick have met on AML online or no? I would like to take confirmation about this, but I think the answer to that will be yes. Because at the moment, particularly if you're shielding or whatever you're still doing and you can't actually get to them, I think you've got to be very careful. I think you've got to also almost do more checking on who they are and making sure of where they are. And I don't quite know how you do that, but I think in the interim, if you've never met them, I think it's probably okay because you can't do it any other way. But maybe make a note and try and make a face-to-face meeting with as soon as possible. But that's Nicola. I will follow up on that, Nicola, and get back to you online for AML. Okay, I'll try and get back to you on that one. Right, what else have we got? That one's done. These done. Right. Oh, Faye's back. Hi, Faye. Yes, Dee's come back and said, yes, I assumed someone was collecting mail and distributing. I have received a reply regarding transferring a PAYE. So yes, they are getting through. Not quite sure how they're doing it at the moment, but let's deal with that one. Faye, sadly, my client has been caught out on P11D for directors being charged interest on director's loan account. The account has backdated the P11D to 2016. I can't see any penalties to appeal on my gateway reviewing my client. Can you tell me what fines the client may get? The answer, Faye, at the moment is no. Again, it's one I'm going to have to look into. There is some legislation going through at the moment on, can't give the word of it, payments to directors, disguised remuneration it's called, which has been going through, and the payment dates have been fixed so that what happens with the director's loan is if it goes over the amount that you're supposed to have, which I think is £10,000, you have to pay interest on that, and also you are taxed on it through the limited company. Now, the reason that HMRC are being so strict on this is that a lot of directors, or a significant number of directors, have been taking large loans out of the company with no intention of ever paying them back. Now, we're not talking about the director's loan that you take out just simply because there might be some spare cash or something and it's going to be offset against dividends, or it's PAY or whatever it is, but it's taken out as a loan. This is where they're deliberately taking out a loan and never paying it back. So there's a lot on disguised remuneration charge at the moment, and that is one that I will have to look at, but I don't know what the fines are, Faye, so I will look into that and get back to you on that one. And Judith's come back saying, if a PAY agent account has taken 6 weeks, do you think a corporation agent account may take the same time? I think that's a possibility, Judith, but again, I'm going to give you a call anyway, so we'll talk about that. And Faye said, yes, it's £10,000 for the director's loan, and she's read that the fine may not be greater than the liability. Now, I think with a lot of HMRC fines, their limits are you have to pay the loan back, and you pay the interest, and you pay a penalty as well. Faye said, my client took money in lieu of dividends. Now, when I was practicing, I had a client where we had some artists that ran artist workshops, these sort of workspaces. And what the two artists used to do was they had their own studios there, and the income would come into the bank account, and they would use their dividends against their rent. So what I used to have to do was to keep an account each month. So we invoiced them for rent, and the rent was paid through the director's loan account. Now, what happened probably every quarter was the director's loan account would mount up. And in those days, it was £5,000. And when they're paying about £1,900 a month for their studio, it obviously went above. So with the accountant, what we decided to do is each quarter we would look at the profits. Unfortunately, it wasn't fairly profitable business. And we would actually declare an interim dividend and do all the proper paperwork to declare an interim dividend and use that to offset the director's loan account. The problem comes when you can't declare the dividend and you've gone over the limit. So it's a question of, it might be just a timing issue there. But again, I'll come back to you on that one, Faye. Peter Richardson's online. Hello, can you tell me for how long do we as agent need to keep clients' records for existing clients and old clients? So whilst I think it's 6 years, I think you have to keep it for the same length of time as there could possibly be any inquiries into their account. So I think you have to give everything back. And I have a feeling that with your practice license, you have to make sure that you are covered. If you stop practicing, I think you have to make sure that you're covered for a certain length of time. Now, the limitations on keeping records for a client, for individuals' tax is 6 years. So I have a feeling that it's the same as us. And oh, you've all suddenly woken up. Hi. On the online AML issue, they said previously, Garry or Steve, that it would be acceptable to do a video call and then get them to scan a copy of their passport. Then when COVID is behind us, to catch up with the in-person meet. Yes, I think that's what I was saying. So do the online, make sure you've got all the information, make sure you've got the photo ID so that you can actually match up, make sure it's the person that you're speaking to. You've got the addresses, you've got the utility bills, so that's fine. But then as soon as we can get out to meet them, you should have a face-to-face meeting just to make sure. And Peter's come back and saying, I've previously been told 21 years, but I can't believe that's correct. This is for keeping details. No, I don't think it's that long, Peter. I think it's 6 years, but I will have to check on that one. Time for keeping client records. Okay. Okie dokie. Right, that one's done. Jane Bratton, good afternoon, Jane. Last week, Garry mentioned that those of us with the level 3 diploma in self-assessment would have to continue to take the level 4 if we want to continue completing tax returns. Do you have any idea? At the moment, if you have the level 3, you can carry on doing self-assessment tax returns as you did before. What you can't do with the level 3 is to cover anything on foreign income for the foreign income return. So things like residency and domicile, you can't do, and you can't do capital gains tax calculations. To do those, you have to take the level 4 qualification. Now, what ICB is recommending is that everybody who's done the level 3 updates it to the level 4 so that you have the level 4, because from now, if you want to become a fellow of ICB, you have to have the new level 4 diploma to do that, for no other reason. If you just want to become a fellow, the level 3 qualification will no longer count towards your level 4 from a certain date, and I'm not sure when that date is. So at the moment, you can carry on doing self-assessment. We advise you to take the level 4, but I don't have a date. Right. Nikki Hackerbeak. Hi, Nikki. I sent in a deregistration form and it didn't reach them. Also, there are huge delays for VAT-related work being done manually. And yes, the answer is, I think it's the same all the way around HMRC. They have a huge backlog. So I would hope that if there's an issue with it, then the fines will be backdated or not backdated as well. So, and a query here, someone with remote working, sometimes with remote working, you could end up with clients all across the country, e.g. Land's End to John O'Groats. Can we not verify as an alternative to meeting Zoom okay in COVID times? I think with the increase of digital and home working, this is going to be something we're going to have to take a ruling on. There is going to have to be a way, I think, of verifying it. Everybody's doing it. So I think anything to do with remote working, carry on while we're under COVID, and hopefully we will come up with a definite answer for you. Okay, anything on the chat line? I think that's all the questions from the chat line, and nothing else on the questions and answers at the moment. So I think it's probably time. It's 10 to 3 now. So unless anybody's got anything burning that they want to cover this afternoon, as I said, please do email member services if you've got any other queries that you haven't been able to put up today. Oh, there's one quick one from Sylvia. Hi, Sylvia. Neil would like an update on L4 management accounts. I'm not sure what's happening with that at the moment, Sylvia, but I will pass that on to Peter, who's dealing with that. I know they're looking into it. So the level 4 management accounts is still ongoing. I know what's happening is that, for those of you that understand what the level 4 diploma is, we're looking, management accounts is one of those difficult ones as to what actually is covered by management accounts. What we as bookkeepers call management accounts is possibly something different to what the accounting bodies call it, because there are a lot of things in a normal management accounts syllabus, which, to be honest, I don't think we as bookkeepers would ever need to cover, because they are things like standard variance analysis, which is basically a topic that's more prevalent if you're in a large manufacturing or production type industry. It's certainly my least favorite subject to teach. I remember many years ago teaching an A-level group how to do standard variance analysis, got the formula completely wrong, and I went back to the staff room thinking it went really well, and Leslie, who most of you know is my other half, who I was teaching with at the time, told me I got it completely wrong, and I had to actually go into the class next time and eat apple pie and tell them I'd got it wrong, and I vowed never to teach management accounts again. So that's my confession for today. Okay, lovely. I think that is probably all. Hopefully, wherever you are, your weather is not too bad for you. It's pretty very wet, very windy here, as it is across most of the country. So I think that's probably all. Gillian said thank you very much. Just running up and down the questions. I think I've answered them all. So I think I would say, yes, everybody's coming in, so thank you very much. Bless you all. Thank you for attending and coming on. What we would do without you, I never know, because I could have Friday afternoon off, but I love doing this too much. So, and one quick question. Oh, you're flooding in. Oh, northeast of Scotland, blue sky and sunshine. Thank you, Suzanne. I really want to know that. Good luck, because I know you don't normally get that. You normally have probably a lot more rain than the rest of us, so you deserve some decent sunshine. Hello, one here. A question about disengagement to a client and they never respond. What's my responsibility? The answer to that is I'm not sure. That's coming, I think, from the Facebook, and it doesn't say who it is. Whoever's put that in, could you possibly email in with that one, and we'll try and get someone to answer for you, because that's practice licensing and it's not one of my areas at all. And Yolanda's come back and say Edinburgh is nice today, but next week we're very wet. Yeah, well, I think we've got the rain across the south for once. It's usually north of the border. So okay, Racer, thank you. So thanks, Jackie. Thank you, Racer, for joining us. Anyway, I'm going to call it quits there for this afternoon. I'm sure you've all got other things you would like to be doing. I'm going to go and grab a cup of tea and send your emails in. Look out for information on the summit, because it's going to be really, really good. And hopefully you all have a lovely weekend. I hope your weather is not too bad, and I will be back with you on next Friday. So thank you all for joining me, and we'll say goodbye now. Bye all.